What do you think Glade needs to do to really kind of win over the bankruptcy world?
I I think there's two things that I would see. One of it is get a system in place for run of the mill kind of cases so that you're embracing the people who don't want to do the AI work, right? But then you're going to have to develop something that's a little more sophisticated to get everybody involved and behind your product. I'm a fan of Glade. I think they are the future, and I was so impressed when I was working with them. Their responsiveness, their ability to pivot. When we said, "Hey, this isn't working for us. Could we do something like this?" Sure. Let's make sure we understand what your ask is, and then they would come back and solve that problem. And you don't get that kind of service with regular software. I've asked Clio for something. I've asked Clio in the calendar, can you please let me attach my client questionnaire to the client's appointment and any docs they wanted me to see so that I'm not looking everywhere for it? Oh, that's a great idea. Or can you let me pick in communications that I want it to default to emails and not text? I mean, stupid things like that. They don't care about you. You're just a number. Yet here I still have Clio sitting up on my desk. They're the only one in that game. Where Glade is setting themselves apart is they are responsive to the member or the user's needs. And that's pretty rare in the software world.
Do you see now that AI is really here and it's really on the scene for the masses? Do you think the other big three will just have their own AI systems at some point? And I'm surprised they don't already. I know that they are implementing some things, but what I don't understand is that and I have had the development teams for those other companies come back and solve problems and help, and do things. I work with all of them, of course. It's a very different, system for me. But I do think that in bankruptcy software, they are much more amenable to adding things and solving problems.
Yeah, and we're a smaller niche, right? You can do a little bit more with a smaller base, but you have to remember that base is growing. Filings are through the roof. People are adding bankruptcy to their practice who've never done bankruptcy before. So there's this huge opportunity to embrace that. And I also think that lawyers have to diversify in the bankruptcy world as well. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket and filings go down, then you stop getting the education you need in the area. You stop seeking out, going to the conferences where you network, and stop bringing your paralegals to the conferences, which that's mind blowing to me too. I think more attorneys need to bring their paralegals. And I've always brought mine.
You're one of like four. You're one of what, 4 or 5 out of hundreds that do that.
Yeah, yes. But you know what? Yeah. It pays for itself 10 times over because when a paralegal needs a California attorney, they're calling my paralegal that they met at the conference. So it pays for it. And I think that's one thing that bankruptcy attorneys lack is forward thinking and penny pinching every penny, but you're not investing in your firm, so you're never going to grow, so that you're not counting pennies, you're counting dollars. So
I've been to NACBA several times, and I've been to our local Maryland Bankruptcy Bar Association weekend dozens of times. And one thing that always strikes me is that the lawyers who really need to be there aren't there.
Right. I agree.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you know what, Jenny? I could talk with you for hours and hours and hours about what you're doing with Claude's skills.
It's amazing.
But I think we're going to have to save some of that for another episode.
That's it for today's episode of AI Tools for Practicing Lawyers. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.